Oh, the angles. The angles. The angles. Boop. Alright, let's get it. I think that serves me. That serves what I want. Got the tungsten light over there, got the ring light over there. The lighting is good. Alright, let me pull it up on YouTube so I can get the live comments coming in. Boop. What up? What up, Sydney? What up, world? What up, YouTube? We are here. Just getting my stuff set up because you know they make you go live before you could actually like get into the videos and all of that. So bang bang, trying to do that. What's up with everybody? 15 people in here. That's what it is. It's good to just have community like that online. You could just pull up, people come through, see what you want to see what you're about. Oh, they're making me sign in and all of that. Jeez. I have to do two. How am I gonna do two-factor authentication on my while I'm vlogging? How about this? Let's do this. This I shouldn't have to. Yo, I really wish it wasn't so hard to go live, like without having to download another software completely, and I could do this from my laptop instead of having a phone, then go to the laptop. What up, cousin? What up? What up? What up? Yeah, what up, everybody? Grand Risings. Even though it's almost noon, I got notes. I got notes on the laptop, stuff that I want to cover. I'm gonna be reading from this beautiful, beautiful book. Quick story about how I came to this book is I was visiting a friend, Tiffany, and she has a bunch of interesting books just lying about. And I was like going out to the pool to watch Aura, like hopefully read while Aura had some fun in the pool, which she's getting more acquainted with the pool now by herself. So like she's going in and like getting in the first step and like sitting down. So I was like, maybe I'll be able to read today while she's getting in the pool. And I was looking through all her books, rummaging through her libraries. One of my favorite things to do, rummaging through people's libraries and see what books they have, see what they're about. And I'm lifting up all these interesting books. I had picked up like two books, like this is the one, and then kept looking. And then I saw this one. I was like, man, this book, it's got some character to it. And it's called The Complete Conversations with God and Uncommon Dialogue. And I just randomly flipped open, boop, just randomly flipped open the book, and I landed exactly on chapter 8. And this book is written by a dude named Neil Donald Walsh. I didn't read anything before chapter 8. So what I think, I asked Tiffany, like, how did this come about? And basically, he was having a rough time in his life with his family and was asking himself questions, and apparently God was giving him the answers to his questions, and he was writing this stuff down as it was happening. And yeah, you might say it's woo-woo a little bit fantastical, but the way these answers are written out, like I don't even particularly subscribe to the whole God idea unless you're talking about God being the highest version of each one of us. And I can go deeper into that, but these are the answers I would expect from a God. You know what I mean? So, yo, definitely want to touch on this later. But first, what I wanted to touch on was the comment that I made in my last video was kind of off the cuff, it was me just going on a tangent and looking back through the footage that I had. And when I saw it, I was like, that's a provocative thought. After I had done all the editing for the video, uploaded the video, got comments for the video, I was like, I think I race baited myself. And that's when it hit me that I definitely race baited myself. Race bait is a very real thing, and I did it to myself. How crazy is that? Because I saw the topic of race come up in my conversation, self conversation, even though I share it with you all. And I shared how what I think in my heart of hearts. And this is not a conclusion that I've recently come to. This is a conclusion that I've drawn long, long, long ago. Like I'm like levels above discovering that I don't identify as black. And in the video I offered one or two reasons that I thought were really tangible. First one being humans can't be colors. And I don't feel like that needs more explanation. Just like a human can't be a desk, a human can't be a suitcase. You like colors are not living sentient things. So humans can't be those. So that being said, I was like, yeah, that makes sense to me. Humans can't or shouldn't, or I shouldn't, I should say, identify as something that's not living. Like, anyway. And then the other example that I gave was a court case because I'm into law. If you know me, then you know I'm into law. I talk about law a lot. It's one of my favorite topics to discuss. And I read a case called Dred Scott v. Sanford, which is a case from the 1800s, and it's never been overturned. And this case is a monumental case because in this case, the Supreme Court ruled that rights aren't afforded to everybody. They're only afforded to so-called Europeans or pale people. Da, 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 da. It's not afforded to African Americans specifically, is what the Supreme Court ruled, or people of color. And that's never been overturned. And then I said you can argue that the 14th and 15th Amendment overruled that because those amendments to the US Constitution gave rights to everybody within the borders of America. And then I stopped there because I was like, this video isn't about this. This video is about potty training. And that's what I wanted to get into. But people in the comments, woo, it was, nah, I can't even say that. I'm gonna go through the comments, some of the comments, but going through the comments, I realized that I got a lot of positive feedback and I got a little bit of negative feedback. But the negative feedback that I got, I like to entertain thoughts that don't necessarily validate my own. Like I'm not that type of person. I like to, if everybody always agrees with you, then you can't really grow. You need to talk to people who don't agree with you, who challenge you on the way you think. So I sat even more with this thought of not identifying as a black person and what it means to identify as black, so on and so forth. And yeah. So we're gonna talk about that as soon as I get this thing together here. I don't know what's happening. Here we go. Let me click on my channel. And I'm going to click on this live. And I'm going to click on this live. Mute that. And now I have access to comments. All right. Innovative. You got to think on the fly. You got to think on the fly, baby. Somebody said just after 4 p.m. here. Sibs, where you at, Sibs? Sydney said, what is race baiting? Race baiting is basically when you bring up the topic of the the disparity between races or anything that causes friction between races, and you talk about it or you title your video that, and that way you bait people into a conversation about race. That's what race baiting is. To me at least. I'm not like an expert on what race baiting is, but I figured that out. So let me go into my notes as well while I pull this up. Bop. And this way I have those comments that I wanted to talk about. Notes. Notes. So yeah, I saved some of the good comments that I thought were interesting. And shout out to everybody who subscribes and comments and likes and engages, because I some really smart people follow me or subscribe to me, I should say. And they left some interesting comments. The first one that I wanted to talk about, come on, computer, don't play me. All right, was from Rhyming Tan. She said, "You identify by your tribe. If you don't know that, get to digging. Genealogy is key. We have to stop letting others tell us who we are. Listen to grandma." And that's pretty much what I was saying right there. Is when people ask you what you are, they're asking you what do you identify as, right? And most of the time we know what they mean, but or they'll say where you're from. That's the biggest one. They'll be like, "Yo, where you from?" And then I'll tell them, I'm like, "Yo, I'm from New York." And they'll be like, "Nah, nah, nah." Which I mean, like, what's your nationality? What's your ethnicity? And so I've dealt with that my pretty much my whole life, being as light as I am. And I've always tried to come up with interesting answers for that, because interesting answers lead to interesting conversations. So yeah, um, when somebody asks you your nationality or ethnicity and you reply black, that's a misnomer, because black is not an ethnicity and it's not a nationality. An ethnicity is like where on the geographical compass of Earth do you hail from, or your nationality is the same thing. Everybody has one, but us people in America, I want to call us BIPOCs. I like that terminology, which stands for Black, Indigenous, People of Color. BIPOCs have gotten used to, throughout the programming of our lives, to just say black, and that's accepted. And if that works for you, if that's all you want to do, fine. I'm just a truth digger. I want to get to the bottom of things. So black never really sat right with me. And so I did the research and knowledge of who, where do I come from? And I remember in fourth grade, we did this, one of my first projects when I moved with my Aunt Joan. In fourth grade, Miss Dalton asked us to make like a report on our heritage. And everybody came in, "Oh, I'm from Italy. Oh, I'm from Ireland. Oh, I'm from Cape Verdean in Africa." Like all these people had these faraway places that they could identify with because their parents immigrated from there or their grandparents immigrated from there, and they were like second or third generation. Me, I asked my aunt. She said Virginia. I was like, Virginia? That's not even interesting. How am I gonna hold the whole report and entertain a class with that? And I remember being self-conscious about it, because, but she told me that's as far as we go back. We've come from Virginia. And then I remember explaining that my lineage, we, even though we don't know which specific ship it was, the lineage came from somewhere and arrived in Africa, and we don't even know where. I mean, not Africa, but in Virginia, and we don't even know where that came from, because if you know anything about the triangular trade, Africa wasn't the only stop. There was islands in the Caribbean that people were getting picked up from. Also, that being said, my aunt was very big into bringing me around the Shinnecock tribe, which is a tribe that exists mainly on the eastern portion of Long Island. I lived in Bayshore, Long Island, and she would bring me to the powwows and she would tell me that these are my people. So I started to identify with the Shinnecock tribe, the Shinnecock nation of indigenous peoples. And so that's, I prefer to identify with that as opposed to the term black. Okay. And I'm running this into the ground now, but that's just something that I wanted to cover. So shout out to Ring Ming Tan for making that comment. Also, this, I thought this comment was dope, by Dr. 100%. Per, he spelled like Purr, like a cat. I thought this was dope. He got into the etymology of the word. He said, "Yo, you teaching that etymology, bro? People have no idea how important the Dred Scott case is to our indigenous history. I'm learning how to introduce myself without fully disconnecting from the community I grew up with." And I thought that was important too, because when we speak to people, normally we don't want to get into full-blown educational, you know, dialogues. We just want to keep the conversation going. And so you stick with the lingua franca, which is just basically like the terminology that everybody can understand. And so he said he introduces himself fully without disconnecting from the people that he grew up with. And I thought that was pertinent because if you look at my family, I'm like the lightest one in my family. So I thought it's important to not alienate myself because I think people in the comments who were having negative things to say were trying to suggest that I was alienating myself when I was just proclaiming that I don't identify with the color. So, and he also said, because I realized that we are in a time of awakening and not on the conveyor belt of enlightenment, which is pretty much what I was saying. Everybody is in different spaces in their awakening process and their ascension process. He says, but I feel you. The little one has an awesome pair of parents. You both are impressive. Thank you for that, Dr. 100%. And then this next comment was from AC. Uh, what did AC say? Exactly, same here. Still trying to unlearn referring to myself as quote unquote black. Black is a term that was created when Europeans came into contact with sub Saharan ethnic groups and homogenized them based on a phenotype, even though those groups already had names for themselves. That's a key. That's a key right there. Those groups already had names for themselves. They completely replaced our identities to establish racial hierarchy. Proximity to whiteness considered the top and blackness the bottom. Which is kind of funny when you think about it because when I was growing up, almost everything that had a black in front of it had a negative connotation. Like a black cat was bad luck. If you had the white cake with the frosting, it was angel's cake. If you have the chocolate cake with the black frosting, it was devil's food cake. You know what I mean? Like those juxtapositions, I just took notice of, and it's there's an attempt there by a select group of people to demonize that word. And it's not that I made my decision to not identify from what another group dictated. It's just psychology. It's just programming that I'm trying to undo. And yeah, Aubrey had a good comment. She said, "Thank you for putting out that energy. It's past time for people to remove themselves from the spell. You are not black, they are not white. You are not a box of Crayolas. Consult your spiritual family. The answer is awaiting." Thank you, Aubrey, for that. And then this person X underscore G really got into the etymology, where he broke down the origins of the word black. All Indo-European words essentially originate from African words, as speech itself originated in Africa. Yes, black may have negative connotations from a European definition, but not in Africa. The word black originated from Proto-Indo-European bachel, which means bright or white. Excuse me, bright or white, which I thought was interesting. I did not know that. Thank you for putting me on. From ancient Egyptian, be, which he spelled B3H. And I'm not a professor of etymology, so that one kind of lost me. He has a number in between but that also means bright and light. And then he goes on to break it down even further into like the Yoruba definitions. And I just thought that was dope. So I wanted to shout him out, X underscore G. And if you want to see more of the comments, definitely go to that last vlog and look through the comments. There were some really interesting things people said. These are just a few of the highlights that I picked out. Um, the one negative one that really got me my gears going because I was just like, what is this person talking about? And that being said, I want to talk before I get into her comment because this is a very heavy negative comment. I would say in my opinion is about vlogging in general, like putting yourself out there on social media is I think it's powerful work because you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable and just talk about things that be going through your mind or rest in your heart. and you share them with the infinity of the population of humanity. And, people don't always have to agree or encourage you. People can be pretty nasty when they want to be. And I think it's powerful because you could either like delete comments or not read comments, or you could be like me and read everything and try to internalize it. Like, I don't necessarily, like, even if I perceive something as negative, I'll still sit with it and be like, am I wrong? Is that person right? And then also realizing that there is no right and wrong. We're just all speaking from our own experience. So I wanted to talk about that. Um, so let's get into that comment. It's by someone who titles themselves the Oracle, and they have a picture of the Oracle from The Matrix. The Matrix is one of my favorite films, and I was just like, all right, maybe this lady knows what she's talking about. Maybe she's about to bestow some grand knowledge and illuminate something for me, right? She says, and I'm not going to mock her. I'm just going to read it in my regular plain voice. But we all know when we read people's comments, we kind of like make up voices for them in our head based on the way they write. So I'm just going to read it in my regular voice. Shout out to the Oracle if she's watching right now. um, I don't care if you don't identify with black, but what exactly do you mean? Question mark, question mark, question mark, emoticon. Because these black fathers are just men of African just, and I'm always mindful of the way people use the word just. She says because these black fathers are just men of African ancestry in America. And I felt like that was that was egregious right there because that's all they are is just that. But anyway, I digress off that. Who their African ancestry in America who are detailing their experience, and here she goes into all capitals. Please, I suggest to all of the logical thinking people in the world, when you're talking to somebody, try to refrain from you going into all caps mode because when you go into all caps modes, that means that what does it mean? Everybody understands that it's like a shout, like you're texting out a shout. But if you're texting out a shout, why? Why? You don't have to shout. You're texting. Like you have all the time in the world. And shouting doesn't improve your argument. Anyway, she says in all caps, are you trying to suggest you are not in that group? Period. If you are, just say all caps that. Don't split hairs referencing court laws that really have nothing to do with what you implied. Because if you wanted to call yourself mixed race, then say that. Or if you see yourself as a white man, say that because if that's the case, I will know to unsubscribe and tell all the black, brown, and people of color that are supporting you because we think you are part of the fold that you really are not and to move on. And she went on to say a lot more. Like at that point, she was commanding me to do things. And I just thought it was interesting because, like I said, you being an online personality, if you do this online thing, you open yourself up to all types of people who have a very adamant opinion, a vehement opinion, and they will express it. So, shout out to the Oracle for doing the most in the comments. Definitely gave me something to think about, and also probably is the one of the like if everybody said positive stuff about what I said, I probably wouldn't be spending the 24 minutes that I just spent on that subject. So, moving along. um, all of that actually happened because on Instagram, well, not off of Instagram, I had an idea of starting some type of online group or community for girl dads, specifically girl dads, men with daughters. And so I once I had the idea, I know I wanted to make a post on Instagram, so I was like, let me just talk about this idea that I had. And so many people were referring me to quote unquote black fathers, people who identify as black fathers. And when I saw that, that made me like go into introspection about how I felt about identifying as a black person again. And so That's why I brought it up in that last YouTube video. It's like I something you all should probably know about me is I don't really refer to myself that way. I don't identify that way. So back onto the point of this, the what I was just talking about was I want to create a community for girl dads. I feel like girl dads are in. Everywhere I go, I'm seeing like girl dads on covers of magazines and just noticing it more. Just like if you were to buy a car that you don't really see on the road that much. Isn't that an odd phenomenon? Like you buy a car that you don't see that much, but once you buy it, that's the only car you seem to see on the road after that. It's weird. And I'm sure there's a name for that. But yeah, so I just wanted to create a community for girl dads and everybody who's wondering why that's taking so long or where is that community. I'm really trying to offer something of value with resources, tools, courses even. And I found a website that's pretty much doing that same exact thing. It's called saveyoursons.com. So I went to this website, and this website is exactly what I want to do. Like it's everything. It's like a membership thing where, you can be a member of it and there's courses you can take. There's community chat rooms, like cells that, you can meet up with people in your general area. Like this is the perfect template for what I wanted to do. And if I can't do it to that level, I don't really want to do it at all. So for the people waiting on that group, it's in the works. Trust and believe it's in the works. It is coming. I just want to do it to a very high level and offer things of value. But for right now, I will start just a Telegram group for the people who just want to get in super, super, super early, like in the proto stage, the beta stage, I should say, before it's an actual full blown like website. So the name of that website was Save Your Sons if you do want to check it out, saveyoursons.com. I emailed the dude, like whoever is the curator of that, and they didn't get back to me, which kind of which kind of made me sad a little bit because he's probably feeling like I'm trying to jump in his lane, but it's not even that. Like I'm just, you know what I mean? Like when Rihanna wanted to start Fenty, she wasn't worried about Victoria's Secret. She just took Victoria's Secret as there being as a signal that there's clearly a niche for doing what she wanted to do. So anybody out there who wants to start something who feels apprehensive about starting it just because somebody else is doing pretty much the same thing and they're doing it successfully on a grand scale, don't let that stop you. That just shows you that that is what success that's what's successful. People are checking for that. All right. So that covers that. The next thing I wanted to talk about was anime. Let's just jump into that because after the anime talk, we are going to get into this. This is going to take a bulk of the time because I'm going to read a full 8 pages to you guys because this book just I feel like everybody needs to read this book. But I wanted to talk about anime real quick because that's also one of my favorite things to talk about, and we need to talk about Spy Family. Spy Family, if you haven't seen it, amazing. And it's right on time because it just came out. It's a brand new. I think they just finished the first season, so you can binge watch the whole first thing. But I feel like it was made just for me because it's basically about a dude who's a spy, doesn't have family, but he needs to accomplish a mission, which is basically keeping peace between the western side of the world and the eastern side of the world. And in order to keep the peace, he needs to get close to a certain and very important person who's like the leader of the western side of the world. And in order to do that, this person makes no public appearances. They only show up to events for their kid. So in order to get close to him, he needs to find a child and a wife and get his child into this like really ritzy exclusive school, and it's called Eden College, and that's his mission is to find a family, build a family, and like get close to this important person. And I think that storyline is freaking amazing. The animation is amazing. The voiceovers are amazing. The act, I can go on and on about anime, about what makes anime great, but I highly suggest Spy Family. That's something that I've been watching. Something that I just finished. Two things that I just finished. I rewatched Hunter x Hunter. It took me like 4, maybe 5 months to rewatch the entire thing because I last time I watched it was like 2015, 16, and they didn't finish it. And I didn't know that. I don't even think it's still finished because the author said that he's still writing the manga. And this manga slash anime has been ongoing since like the late 90s. And it's so good, yo. Like I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, this may be better than Naruto, or it may like supersede my Naruto's here on the top of my list. And when I saw Hunter x Hunter for the first time, I was like, this is like neck and neck, maybe better. But then it dropped clearly less than Naruto to me because it wasn't finished. And I was like, what the hell? Then I read about the mangaka who created it and heard about how he was kind of weird or crazy in the head, which I assume all mangakas to be because to think the way a mangaka, which is a person who writes manga, to think the way they think, you have to be a very deep person because there isn't a manga that I haven't read or an anime that I haven't seen that the main character is always steps ahead of people. And so to write something like that, you have to be steps ahead and very intelligent about minute details and stuff like that. So I finished watching Hunter x Hunter. It was amazing. It's still I Naruto is still always gonna be number one for me. Jujutsu Kaisen is still my most favorite contemporary anime, but I'm so happy that I rewatched it because I got so many lessons and so many gems. I could do a whole YouTube video just on Hunter x Hunter, and I just might do that. Another one that I just watched, it's really short. It's only like 70 episodes long. It took me maybe like a month and a half to watch it. I watched it right after Hunter x Hunter. Is Gurren Lagann. Gurren Lagann is a story about what is it? It's about a a young child, a teenager, I'll say, and him and his community of people live underground, and they're trying to figure out if there's something above the ceiling, which is basically what is the ground to us. They're trying to see if there's something above this their ceiling, which is the surface of the earth. And they do find out that. And this him and his brother have this amazing adventure when they finally break through, which is a wonderful metaphor and analogy in itself. And then it goes on to basically like you just gotta watch it, man. You just gotta watch it. It's kind of etchy. One of the female main characters, like she she's super sexy for an anime character, so I'm gonna just leave that there. And it does a really good job. The story is amazing. It's actually really deep. The main character is kind of annoying when he's younger. He's really annoying because he's like Aniki, Aniki this, Aniki that, Aniki that, like his brother. And so I highly suggest Gurren Lagann if you haven't seen it yet. Hunter x Hunter if you haven't seen it yet. Spy Family, and I think I'm gonna leave it at that. All right, so we're now at 33 minutes, and I'm gonna get into this book. Actually, before I get into the book, let me see what people are saying in the chat. All right, bang, because I've talked my head off. Thank you all for sticking with the guy who talks his head off, because I know it's not easy just to listen to somebody talk sometimes. You wanna see the visuals, man. Like me, I like the visuals. Um, a bunch of people are saying that they read the book. Um, Shout out to Amy. Shout out to Christy. Thank you for being here. Somebody suggests a book by Alina Dannon where they're talking about full disclosure or alien races. Very interesting. Let's see at the same time. Shout out to Jake Carp 23 for multitasking. Whoa, what the hell is this? You new AI will find a girl for you. Okay. What the hell is that? That's what I was talking about. Weird stuff, man. Weird stuff on on the interwebs. There's no shortage of it. Oh, I have to do this like all 4 times. This is crazy. Sorry about that. This person is spamming my chat. Why? That being said, I was rewatching my last vlog last night, and I noticed that Aura is a little bit too naked in that vlog. Like when I was editing it for all the hours I was editing it, it did not occur to me until after I rewatched it. I was like, yo, I gotta do better and make sure my baby has clothes on. But if you know Aura, she does not like to have clothes on, so there that is. But I will do better moving forward. If anybody else, if anybody else peeped that. Defund the Empire says BitConnect. I was once part of BitConnect. And I made some Bitcoin off of that. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't know what happened towards the end of that thing. It made me feel like it actually might have been some unscrupulous things, shall I say, going on with BitConnect. Yeah, Christy says she's talking about the all caps. Butterbear says refrain from caps, insulting the other party. People always try to make a point in comments and have a discussion, but always have to throw in something insulting or condescending. That's so true. Like just chill. If you don't got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. Shout out to EyeNero.com. There's a think t-shirt where I talk about thinking before you speak. If it ain't true, if it ain't helpful, if it ain't important, or if it ain't necessary, if it ain't kind, maybe don't say it. Maybe. I gotta take my own advice on that because sometimes I get riled up. I'll be saying things. Yeah, groupthink. Yo, that's a powerful key right there too about groupthink as far as the race conversation we were having earlier. Yo, shout out to Kato the Wolf. Yeah, good comment. Hey Norway. Oh, what happened? Glitch. Sarah Lopes from Norway. I gotta get out there. I'm trying to go as far away as America as possible and see what it's like. Cause from going from New York to California, California to the Midwest, you start to see just within a country how much of a degree people vary, and it's amazing. So to go across the pond somewhere, yo, it's gotta be mind blowing. I like what Celestial Soul says. She says, my mom is German white, my dad is black. I identify as a multi-dimensional soul having a third density experience. I appreciate that. Yeah, so what I was talking about before about being levels past the black situation or identity is when I started to identify as an indigenous aboriginal or as a member of the Shinnecock tribe. I was like, wait, I'm just human. We're all human. Like there's the difference between all humans is trivial, right? And then I was like, wait, I'm consciousness. I'm not even in this body right now. When I'm talking about when I say who I am, I'm identifying with the source, like the dot that makes up every individual experience on this planet. I am consciousness itself. That's who I am. And I know that that's not easy to get, but it's the place that I arrived. Um, Thank you, Amy, for being entertained. That's what I'm trying to do here, man. If it ain't entertaining, if it ain't provocative, what is it? What up from the Netherlands, Esther? All right, so that covers all the chats in the chats so far. And what I'm gonna do now is finally, at the 39-30 second mark, is read from this book, Conversations, the complete Conversations with God, because this book you can't even find You can only get like book one, book two, book three sold separately. You'll be hard pressed to find this whole entire, all three volumes in one book. And look, y'all. I love books like this that you know have been used. They make a sound when you open them. Wait, let's get it for the MSR people. Love books like that. You just pick it up, you smell it. It's got all these pages that are folded back. Tiffany's already highlighted a lot of good places in here in this book. So bear with me all as I read 8 pages from this almost 30-page chapter, okay? There's so many keys. Try to stick with me. I'll try to pause and look up and see if anybody wants me to reiterate or repeat. All right, you ready? Here we go. This is where they're like, Matt, do you want to read in front of the class? And I'm like, yes, please. So the guy, Neil, asked, when will I learn enough about relationships to be able to have them go smoothly? Is there a way to be happy in relationships? Must they be constantly challenging? Neil asked. And God answers, you have nothing to learn about relationships. You have only to demonstrate what you already know. There is a way to be happy in relationships, and that is to use relationships for their intended purpose, not the purpose you have designed. Relationships are constantly challenging, constantly calling you to create, express, and experience higher and higher aspects of yourself, grander and grander visions of yourself, ever more magnificent versions of yourself. Nowhere can you do this more immediately, impactfully, and immaculately than in relationships. In fact, without relationships, you can't do it at all. It's only through your relationship with other people, places, and events that you can even exist as a knowable quantity, as an identifiable something in the universe. Remember, absent everything else, you are not. You only are what you are relative to another thing that is not. Gems. That is how it is in the world of the relative, as opposed to the world of the absolute, where I reside. Remember, this is God talking. Once you clearly understand this, once you deeply grasp it, then you intuitively bless each and every experience, all human encounter, and especially personal human relationships, for you see them as constructive in the highest sense. You see that they can be used, must be used, are being used, whether you want them to be or not, to construct who you really are. Woo! I hope y'all listening. There's gems. That construction can be a magnificent creation of your own conscious design or a strictly happenstance configuration. Gem. You can choose to be a person who has resulted simply from what has happened or from what you've chosen to be and do about what has happened. It is in the latter form that creation of self becomes conscious. It is in the second experience that self becomes realized. Bless, therefore, every relationship and hold each as special and formative of who you are and now choose to be. Now your inquiry has to do with individual human relationships of the romantic sort, and I understand that, so let me address myself specifically and at length to human love relationships, these things which continue to give you so much trouble. When human love relationships fail, relationships never truly fail except in the strictly human sense that they did not produce what you want. They fail because they were entered into for the wrong reason. Listen. Wrong, of course, is a relative term meaning something measured against that which is right. Whatever that is. It would be more accurate in your language to say Relationships fail, change, most often when they are entered into for reasons not wholly beneficial or conducive to their survival. Most people enter into relationships with an eye toward what they can get out of them rather than what they can put into them. Let's get it. Here come this person again. Didn't I say report this fool? Block. Get up out of here. Okay. Sorry about that. Where was I? We're putting them, not getting out of them, we're putting into them. Where is it? There we go. The purpose of a relationship is to decide what part of yourself you'd like to see show up, not what part of another you can capture and hold. There can be only one purpose for relationships and for all life: to be and to decide who you really are. It is very romantic to say that you were nothing until that special other came along. But that's not true. Worse, it puts an incredible pressure on the other to be all sorts of things he or she is not. Not wanting to let you down, they try very hard to be and do these things until they cannot anymore. They can no longer complete your picture of them. They can no longer fill the roles to which they have been assigned. Resentment builds, anger follows. Finally, in order to save themselves and the relationships, these special others begin to reclaim their real selves, acting more in accordance with who they really are. It is about this time that you say they've really changed. It is very romantic to say that now that your special other has entered your life, you feel complete. Yet the purpose of relationship is not to have another who might complete you, but to have another with whom you might share your completeness. Here is the paradox of all human relationships. You have no need for a particular other. You have no need for a particular other in order for you to experience fully who you are. And without another, you are nothing. The gems. Let me repeat that. Let me go back one time. Here is the paradox of all human relationships. You have no need for a particular other in order for you to experience fully who you are. And without another, you are nothing. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. That was only the first 2 pages. This is both the mystery and the wonder, the frustration and the joy of the human experience. It requires deep understanding and total willingness to live within this paradox in a way which makes sense. I observe that very few people do. Most of you enter your relationship forming years ripe with anticipation, full of sexual energy, a wide open heart, and a joyful, if eager soul. Somewhere between 40 and 60, and for most it is sooner rather than later, you're given up on your grandest dream, set aside your highest hope, and settled for your lowest expectation, or nothing at all. The problem is so basic, so simple, and yet so tragically misunderstood. Your grandest dream, your highest idea, and your fondest hope has had to do with your beloved other rather than your beloved self. The test of your relationship has had to do with how well the other lived up to your ideas and how well you saw yourself living up to his or hers. Yet the only true test has to do with how well you live up to yours. Relationships are sacred because they provide life's grandest opportunity, indeed its only opportunity, to create and produce the experience of your highest conceptualization of self. Relationships fail when you see them as life's grandest opportunity to create and produce the experience of your highest conceptualization of another. Oh, let me get more comfortable because it's Indian. I'm sitting Indian style and it ain't comfortable anymore. Here we go. You good? You here? Let each person in relationship worry about self. What self is being, doing, and having. What self is wanting, asking, giving. What self is seeking, creating, and experiencing. And all relationships would magnificently serve their purpose and their participants. Let each person in relationship worry not about the other, but only about self. This seems a strange teaching, doesn't it? For you have been told that in the highest form of relationship, one worries only about the other. I tell you this, your focus upon the other, your obsession with the other, is what causes relationships to fail. What is the other being? What is the other doing? What is the other having? What is the other saying, wanting, demanding? What is the other thinking, expecting, planning? The master understands that it doesn't matter what the other is being, doing, having, saying, wanting, demanding. It doesn't matter. Like my man The Rock says, it doesn't matter what the other is thinking, expecting, planning. It only matters what you are being in relationship to that. Keys. The most loving person is the person who is self-centered. This is a radical teaching. This is a radical teaching, is what Neil says. Stick with me, y'all. Stick with me. I'm reading from the book, Conversations with God. The complete Conversations with God, an uncommon dialogue. Neil says that is a radical teaching. And God says, not if you look at it carefully. If you cannot love yourself, you cannot love another. Many people make the mistake of seeking love of self through love for another. Of course, they don't realize they are doing this. It's not a conscious effort. It's what's going on in the mind, deep in the mind, in what you call the subconscious. They think, if I can just love others, they will love me. Then I will be lovable, and I can love me. The reverse of this is that so many people hate themselves because they feel there is not another who loves them. This is a sickness. It's when people are truly lovesick because the truth is other people do love them, but it doesn't matter. No matter how many people profess their love for them, it's not enough. First, they don't believe you. They think you're trying to manipulate them, trying to get something. How could you love them for who they truly are? No. There must be some mistake. You must want something. Now, what do you want? They sit around trying to figure out how anyone could actually love them. So they don't believe you and embark on a campaign to make you prove it. To have to prove that you love them. To do this, they may ask you to start altering your behavior. Keys. Second, if they finally come to a place where they can believe you love them, they begin at once to worry about how long they can keep your love. So in order to hold on to your love, they start altering their behavior. Thus, two people literally lose themselves in a relationship. They get into the relationship hoping to find themselves, and they lose themselves instead. Keys. This losing of the self in a relationship is what causes most of the bitterness in such couplings. Two people join together in a relationship hoping that the whole will be greater than the sum of the parts, only to find that it is less. They feel less than when they were single, less capable, less able, less exciting, less attractive, less joyful, less content. This is because they are less. They've given up most of who they are in order to be and to stay in their relationship. Relationships were never meant to be this way. Yet this is how they are experienced by more people than you could ever know. So y'all see why I feel like I needed to read this to y'all, because it was hitting so well when I just randomly picked up this book and randomly picked up this chapter and was telling me everything that I felt like I needed to know because of the place that I am now in. All right, let's continue. Neil says, why? And God says, It is because people have lost touch with, if they ever were in touch with, the purpose of relationships. When you lose sight of each other as sacred souls on a sacred journey, then you cannot see the purpose, the reason behind all relationships. The soul has come to the body and the body to life for the purpose of evolution. You are evolving, you are becoming, and you are using your relationship with everything to decide what you are becoming. This is the job you came here to do. This is the joy of creating self, of knowing self, of becoming consciously what you wish to be. It is what is meant by being self-conscious. You have brought yourself to the relative world so that you might have the tools with which to know and experience who you really are. Who you are is who you create yourself to be in relationship to all the rest of it. Your personal relationships are the most important elements in this process. Your personal relationships are therefore holy ground. They have virtually nothing to do with the other. Yet, because they involve another, they have everything to do with the other. Listen! This is the divine dichotomy. This is the closed circle. So it is not such a radical teaching to say, blessed are the self-centered, for they shall know God. It might not be a bad goal in your life to know the highest part of yourself and to stay centered in that. Your first relationship, therefore, must be with yourself. You must first learn to honor and cherish and love yourself. You must first see yourself as worthy before you can see another as worthy. You must first see yourself as blessed before you can see another as blessed. You must first know yourself to be holy before you can acknowledge holiness in another. If you put the cart before the horse, as most religions ask you to do, this is God talking, and acknowledge another as holy before you acknowledge yourself, you will one day resent it. If there is one thing none of you can tolerate, it is someone being holier than thou. Yet your religions force you to call others holier than thou. And so you do it for a while, then you crucify them. Listen. You have crucified in one way or another all of my teachers, not just one. And you did so not because they were holier than thou, but because you made them out to be. Y'all, I told you I needed to read this book to you. Shout out to everybody still here. My teachers have all come with the same message. Not, I am holier than thou, but you are as holy as I am. This is the message you have not been able to hear. This is the truth you have not been able to accept. And that is why you can never truly, purely fall in love with another. You have never truly, purely fallen in love with yourself. And so I tell you this, be now and forever centered upon yourself. Look to see what you are being, doing, and having in any given moment, not what's going on with another. It is not the action of another, but in your reaction that your salvation can be found. Neil says, I know better, but somehow this makes it sound as though we should not mind what others do to us in relationships. They can do anything. And so long as we hold our equilibrium, keep our self-centered, and all that good stuff, nothing can touch us. But others do touch us. Their actions do sometimes hurt us. It is when the hurt conies enter relationships that I don't know what to do. It's all very well to say, stand aside from it, cause it to mean nothing. But that's easier said than done. I do get hurt by the words and actions of others in relationships. So do I. So do I, Neil. So God says, the day will come when you will not. That will be the day on which you realize and actualize the true meaning of relationships, the true reason for them. It is because you have forgotten this that you react the way you do. But that's all right. That's part of the growth process. It is part of evolution. It is soul work you are up to in relationship. Yet that is a grand understanding, a grand remembering. Until you remember this, and remember then also how to use relationship as a tool in the creation of self, you must work at the level at which you are. The level of understanding, the level of willingness, the level of remembrance. And so there are things you can do when you react with pain and hurt to what another is being, saying, doing. The first is to admit honestly to yourself and to another exactly how you are feeling. This many of you are afraid to do because you think it will make you quote unquote look bad. Somewhere deep inside of you, you realize that it probably is ridiculous for you to feel that way. It probably is small of you. You are bigger than that, but you can't help it. You still feel that way. There is only one thing you can do. You must honor your feelings, for honoring your feelings means honoring yourself, and you must love your neighbor as you love yourself. How can you ever expect to understand and honor the feelings of another if you cannot honor the feelings within yourself? The first question in any interactive process with another is, now, who am I? And who do I want to be in relationship to that? Often, you do not remember who you are and do not know who you want to be until you try out a few ways of being. That is why honoring your truest feelings is so important. If your first feeling is a negative feeling, simply having the feeling is frequently all that is needed to step away from it. It is when you have the anger, have the upset, have the disgust, have the rage, own the feeling of wanting to hurt back, that you can disown these first feelings as not who I want to be. The master is one who has lived through enough such experiences to know in advance what her final choices are. She does not need to try out anything. Keys. She's worn these clothes before and knows they do not fit. They are not her. And since a master's life is devoted to the constant realization of self, and one knows oneself to be, such ill-fitting feelings would never be entertained. That is why masters are imperturbable in the face of what others might call calamity. A master blesses calamity, for the master knows that from the seeds of disaster and all experience comes the growth of self, and the master's second life purpose is always growth. For once one has fully self-realized, there is nothing left to do except be more of that. Keys. It is at this stage that one moves from soul work to God work, for this is what I am up to. I will assume for the purpose of this discussion that you are still up to soul work. You are still seeking to realize, make real, who you truly are. Life, I, will give you bountiful opportunities to create that. Remember, life is not a process of discovery. Life is a process of creation. You can create who you are over and over again. Indeed, you do every day. As things now stand, you do not always come up with the same answer, however. Given an identical outer experience, on day one, you might choose to be patient, loving, and kind in relationship to it. On day two, you may choose to be angry, ugly, and sad. The master is one who always comes up with the same answer, and that answer is always the highest choice. In this, the master is eminently predictable. Conversely, the student is completely unpredictable. One can tell how one is doing on the road to mastery by simply noticing how predictably one makes the highest choice in responding or reacting to any situation. Of course, this throws open the question, what choice is the highest? That is a question around which have revolved the philosophies and theologies of man since the beginning of time. It is the question, if the question truly engages you, you are already on your way to mastery. For it is still true that most people continue to engage by another question altogether. Not what is the highest choice, but what is the most profitable, or how can I lose the least? When life is lived from a standpoint of damage control or optimum advantage, the true benefit of life is forfeited. The opportunity is lost. The chance is missed. For a life lived thusly is a life lived from fear, and that life speaks a lie about you. For you are not fear, you are love. Love that needs no protection, love that cannot be lost. Yet you will never know this in your experience if you continually answer the second question and not the first. For only a person who thinks there is something to gain or to lose asks the second question. And only a person who sees life in a different way, who sees self as a higher being, who understands that winning or losing is not the test, but only loving or failing to love. Only that person asks the first. He who asks the second question says, I am my body. She who asks the first says, I am my soul. Yeah, let all those who have ears to hear listen. For I tell you this, at the crucial juncture in all human relationships, there is only one question. Neil says, what would love do now? No other question is relevant, God says. No other question is meaningful. No other question has any importance to your soul. Now we come upon a very delicate point of interpretation for this principle of love-sponsored action, which has been widely misunderstood, and it is this misunderstanding which has led to the resentments and angers of life, which in turn have caused so many to stray from the path. For centuries, you have been taught that love-sponsored action arises out of the choice to be, do, and have whatever produces the highest good for another. Yet I tell you this, the highest choice is that which produces the highest good for you. Keys. As with all profound spiritual truth, this statement opens itself to immediate misinterpretation. That mystery clears a bit the moment one decides what is the highest good one could do for oneself. And when the absolute highest choice is made, the mystery dissolves. The circle completes itself, and the highest good for you becomes the highest good for another. It may take lifetimes to understand this, and even more lifetimes to implement, for this truth revolves around an even greater one. What you do for yourself, you do for another. What you do for another, you do for yourself. This is because you and the other are one. And this is because there is not but you. And with that, that's 8 pages of chapter 8, baby. I'm going to digress off of that. I hope y'all truly understood the entire breadth of this YouTube live, because I started it out with one topic and I ended it out with those words. And I hope y'all can put that together if you stick through the whole thing. I'm going to look through these comments one time. Yo, this person is still here. Get out of here. Report. Dang. YouTube, just know what I'm doing and get rid of all of them at one time. Jeez. This person, naked HD XYZ. What the frecker? What the farfignugan, bro? All right, I'm just, bear with me. I'm gonna get to these comments. I'm just deleting this real quick because I do not want that looking crazy. All right, I think that's it. Scroll up. Oh, this person is all over the place. Okay. I'm gonna go back through this later, maybe. Okay. Okay, still not there. Okay, or right around here is where I left off, where Esther said, hello from the Netherlands. Christy said, there's a lot here and it's wild going out of the country. All right. Inhabiting vertical meat suits. I like that, Celestial Soul. You always got good ones. Hannah, I hope I read that line again because I missed you saying that. I got to figure out how to read the book and read the messages at the same time. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe that's not a good idea. Listening intently. Thank you, Christy. Title of the book, I gave you that. Let's get it. Snap snaps. Yeah. Yeah, Sydney, you see what I'm talking about. Self-centeredness is often taught to be the wrong thing. I am right there with you because I always believe that self-centeredness was not the right thing. But there's still more to learn, still more to read. That book is super thick, as you can see. So I'm happy you needed it, Amy. I'm happy. Uniquely Autistic says, "Thank you for reading this to us. This is what I've been going through. I changed myself for my spouse, and he's happy now, but I don't know who I am anymore." Sending up bright blessings and prayers for you. Hmm. Yo, that's how I felt, Amy. I felt like a lot of this was like directly from my mind and heart. Yeah, I'm happy you copped it, Solo. It's a good one. Uh, oh, what up to the 53 people in here now? After everything is pretty much over, and I'm just reading comments at this point. If you wanna touch base with me, now's the time because I'm going through the comments. After I go through the comments, I'm gonna probably end this video because we at an hour 12 at this point. Uh-huh. We can all achieve reaching our highest self. That is absolute. Thank you for saying that, living as Nicole. Every moment, every breath is a new opportunity to decide who you want to be and who you are in relationship to that. Because you might not be where you want to be right now. And you have to see the disparities between where you want to be and who you are at this point. And what I try to do is every action that I take, every intentional movement, I ask myself, is this in alignment with where I want to be? And if it's not, I know I'm bugging. That don't mean I'm still not going to be out of alignment. But at least I know while I'm doing the thing that's not in alignment that I'm bugging. And how much are you gonna let yourself bug out? Stephanie says, I just arrived here and I'm so not ready to leave already. Stephanie, thank you for at least showing up. You know what I'm saying? I hope you get to watch the whole video because it's a whole hour. All right, so that's it. That's all the comments. I'm gonna digress off of this whole thing for now because it's 12:15. I got things to do. Is there any parting information that I have for you? Oh, I guess I will say this because a social media personality is kind of who I am. There is a way to support me without having to go to the store and buy a t-shirt or some type of apparel to the print shop. There's like a money sign here. I forget what it's called. It's called a super sticker or a super chat, and you can like donate a cup of coffee or something. Even though I don't really drink coffee, I'll probably get a hot chocolate with that. But yeah, so you can support me through the YouTube by clicking on that. I always have my Cash App and Venmo and all that stuff underneath all of my videos. So you can go through another video, go through the description, click on that. If you want to support your boy directly, if not, go to a store, cop some merch. You'll get something in exchange for that. And with that, I think I digress. I think my phone. Oh no, they do. They do come through. Okay. All right. So yeah, I love you all highly, deeply. May you find your highest self. May you be in alignment with your highest self. May you make all the movements intentionally to get there where you need to be. And until next time, I think the next video, the next vlog will come out around the beginning of next month. So look forward to that. There may be a live in between there. Who knows? Life has been so weird lately and changing. As you can see, this tapestry here is not a tapestry that I have in my house. I've been staying with my friend Tiffany, renting a room out here in East Arlington, Jacksonville, Florida. It's very close to the beach. So, yeah, things are dope. Things are changing, things are progressing. Thank you all for staying in tune with you. Bye! Till the next time. Peace to the triple G's.